What's going on, y'all? This is I Am J King with Look For Yourself podcast. I just want to jump straight into this video. I do want to say this is not a video in defense of Diddy. You know, I used to listen to his music and the labels and his artists back in the day, but that, we gonna stick on what the word is talking about this situation is. I don't want people getting upset, but even if you do, it really don't matter, because I'm sticking with what God is saying. So I also want to say this is mainly for Christians and Israelites. I'm not saying that nobody else can listen in on this video. It's just that you may not understand, because if you don't really go over Bible stuff, if you don't really go into the scriptures and what God talks about, how we should treat people, it may sound really foreign to your ears. And if it offends you, that's not the point of this message. But at the same time, I still have to stick with what the gospel is talking about. So let's go over this. The whole thing with Diddy, the reason why it's a trap is because causing yourself to condemn somebody who is already being condemned for his activities and the stuff that he's done to people, hurting people and all of this. Like, who knows how much is true, because people always will jump more by adding more to the picture. Now, I'm not saying that this man is innocent, and I'm not saying that this man doesn't deserve time for the things that he may have done. So if none of these videos that came out was AI altered and he really did that, then he deserves to be wherever God says he needs to be. And if that's jail, that's because you have consequences for your actions. But you condemning that person, now you gonna reap what you sow, because the Bible talks about we not supposed to be giving condemnation to people if they already suffering. If God already has a situation handled and controlled, what's the thing about going? Now, that don't mean you can't talk about the situation. You can talk about it. You can warn people, like there's predators out there in the industry. We all know that the labels are shady. Like, you can talk about it, discuss it. But if you purposely are making memes and sharing memes that's getting you to laugh, that's getting other people to laugh, what does it say in the Bible? That if you sow sparingly, you'll reap sparingly. If you sow bountifully, you'll reap bountifully. That means however much you sow, it's going to be coming back to you. Because you reaping this. What goes around comes around. It also talks about in Galatians 6:7, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So that whatever is good, is bad, whatever, that means that when you're going through something, guess what people are going to sow? The same things when you laugh and make fun of people is going to happen to you. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be doing jail time. It doesn't mean you're going to be, because that's what's happening to Diddy. But it does mean that you might feel like you in a jail. You might feel like you are alone because you're making fun of somebody who's already being condemned, and on top of that is already due processing for the things that he's done. In 1 Corinthians 13, doesn't it talk about love? Doesn't it talk about in verse 4 that love is long suffering and kind? A lot of people that's making fun of him ain't even suffered nothing from him. So why aren't you kind? The other thing is in verse 5, it talks about love doesn't behave itself unseemly, which means it doesn't be rude. Is making fun of somebody at their lowest not rude? We should be praying that this man don't go to hell. Like, the jail that he's been sent to was the same one Jeffrey Epstein died in. We should be praying that his soul, that his spirit be saved, so that if anything does happen, he don't have to spend eternal damnation, with the evil one. So, but let's go over something else too. Proverbs 24:17 and 18. Now, this is the kicker right here. It says, rejoice not when thy enemy falleth, and let not thy heart be glad when he stumbleth. So it's talking about rejoice not, because people might say, oh, well, God is saying rejoice not when your enemy falls, or be glad when he stumbles. Yeah, so how much more would God be upset with somebody if you're rejoicing over somebody who never even did nothing to you? If you ain't supposed to rejoice even when your enemy falls, or be glad when he stumbles, excuse me, how much more would God be upset that you're rejoicing over somebody that didn't even do nothing to you? You ain't even supposed to do it to your enemy. So you really ain't supposed to do it to somebody who ain't did something to you. Now let's read verse 18. It said, lest the Lord see it and it displease him. What would the Lord see and displease him? Rejoicing when your enemy falls, or be glad when he stumbles, or somebody that didn't even do nothing to you. Lest the Lord see it and it displease him, and he turns away his wrath from him. What's interesting about verse 18, it says the wrath that God has towards somebody, if you're rejoicing over the fact that they fell, or you're glad that they stumble, it said the Lord will see it, it'll displease him, and then he'll turn away his wrath from him. Who do you think that he's going to turn away his wrath from and then go to? That's like making fun of a sibling for getting their butt whooped. That person, you hear that person crying and all of that, the parent whooping their butt cheeks. Now your butt cheeks going to be in trouble. Your parent going to be like, are you laughing at your brother, your sister? You hear them getting whooped and you bring your butt in here. That's how it works. Y'all need to be careful that it says the Lord will turn away his wrath, which means it don't mean that the fire, the anger that he has will go down. No, he's going to turn away, which means he's looking at him. He's getting him. Now he's going to turn around and look at you like, you talking mess too? Bring your butt cheeks in here. All right, so the other thing that I want to say is in Rome, condemned criminals in Rome, they would be tossed into the Colosseum and have to fight for their life. You know, they also did it for Christians. They also did it for other people. But they would toss you in there and you would have to fight for your life. You fighting wild beasts, you fighting gladiators. That's the same thing that happened to Diddy with this prison that he's at. The same one that I believe R. Kelly is in right now, but it's definitely the same one that Jeffrey Epstein died in. And a word on the street has it, they've been sharing it on the news that these gangs are saying whoever kills him, they get more respect. You know, he's a celebrity. He's done some crazy stuff. If you kill him, you get respect. So imagine what that's like. You know, we have to remember that the Bible talks about we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and wickedness and evil things in high places. We are not supposed to be thinking that just he is the problem. Yes, he's a part of the problem. The things that he said, the things that he's done, but demons are running his life. We should be praying that this man's spirit gets saved, this man's soul gets saved, that he changes his life and turns his life to Christ, fix the wrongdoings and redeem the time of everything that he's done that was wrong. That's what we should be praying. The other thing that I want to say is Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed to this world, but transform with the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and accepted and perfect will of God. So that good and acceptable and perfect will of God is not making fun of somebody at their lowest. Remember, in Rome, that's what they did. They used to throw people into gladiators, and you had to fight for your life when you was a criminal. Like, so imagine what that's like being in prison, and then you being like the people in the crowd, in a sense, rooting. Yeah, he's in prison. Yeah, all right. Yeah, whatever happens to him, he deserved that. If they kill him, da 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 da. You are you a Christian or Israelite? What did God talk about with your lips? Didn't he say love your enemies? And then on top of that, if this man didn't even do nothing to you, technically, he's not even an enemy. That's why I'm saying it's deep. So the last thing that I want to say is this. In Revelations, we know that we're living in the last days. In Revelations, it talks about Christians going through great persecution and tribulation, many falling from the faith. Maybe a part of the reason why those things are happening is because, as a whole, a lot of Christians and people that are claiming to be of God or either of God, they're not seeing this fact, and they're making that persecution and tribulation worse in a way that's going to happen because they're making fun. They're doing things the same way the world is doing. So the Bible talks about that if you are a teacher, you get judged more severely. So if you are a believer and you know that you shouldn't be making fun of somebody and you do it anyway just to get a quick laugh because you think nobody's going to really pick up or catch or you're not even thinking about it, what's going to happen to you? You're going to get judged more severely. This is your host, I am Jay King. This is Look For Yourself Podcast. Shalom.